Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana 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 Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari 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 Jaya Vishnu Bhagavana Manasa Prabhupada Acharya Svato Sutta Shishimana Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Sri Krishna Janmastami Mahotsav Ki Jai Sri Krishna Janmastami Mahotsav Ki Jai Haribo Haribo Oh, that's good. Got the bass here. You know your etiquette. Now we read from the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, otherwise known as the Bhagavat Purana. Compiled by the great sage Vedavyas in his maturity. As many of you, not most of you know, the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam describes in detail the pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, whose appearance we're celebrating today. What other personality can you think of whose appearance has been celebrated every year for the past 5,000 years? What other person can you think of who originally spoke the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita 120,400,000 years ago to the sun god, Vishnu? No ordinary personality. The Supreme Personality of God. So we'll read just a verse or two at the point in the 10th canto where the Supreme Personality of God is making his appearance. There's a wonderful description of his personal features and the reaction. Now this is after the demigods have uttered their prayers. They know that Krishna is about to make his appearance. And so just setting the stage, now he's going to make his appearance. Now we're presaging, we're not trying to upstage the actual event, which we recognize at midnight. But I remember in my young days as a brahmachari many years ago, on Janmashtami, we would read Krishna book all day long. We had an assigned reader. Everybody was running around, the temple was bustling with activity, there's cooking going on all day, there's offerings going on all day, there's preparations being made for a play, usually have a play or something's going, all kinds of different activities that devotees are fully absorbed in and engaged. So there would be a designated reader, and so envied the person who had that service. I got to do it like once or twice. I was very excited. It was a really nice service to be able to just read chapter after chapter after chapter from Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading Srimad Bhagavatam, this is text 1 through 5, 10th canto, chapter 3, the birth of Lord Krishna. Shri Sukha Uvacha Tassava Gunopeta Kala Paramashobhana Yarivajana Janmarksham Santarksha Graha Tarakam Tisha Prasedur Gaganam Nimalotu Gunodayam Mahi Mangala Bhuyishta Puragrama Rajakara Nadya Prasanna Salila Rada Jalaruha Shriya Vijali Kula Sanada Stavaka Vanarajayata Vavao Vayu Sukasparsha Punya Gandavaha Suchi Agnayascha Vijatinam Santascha Prasamandata Manamsyasam Prasanani Sadunam Asura Druham Jayamane Jane Tasmin Nedur Dundubhaya Samam. Thereafter, at the auspicious time for the appearance of the Lord, the entire universe was surcharged with all the qualities of goodness, beauty, and peace. The constellation Rohini appeared, as did stars like Ashwini. The sun, the moon, and the other stars and planets were very peaceful. All directions appeared extremely pleasing, and the beautiful stars twinkled in the cloudless sky. Decorated with towns, villages, mines, and pasturing grounds, the earth seemed all auspicious. The rivers flowed with clear water, and the lakes and vast reservoirs full of lilies and lotuses were extraordinarily beautiful. In the trees and green plants full of flowers and leaves pleasing to the eyes, birds like cuckoos and swarms of bees began chanting with sweet voices for the sake of the demigods. A pure breeze began to blow, pleasing the sense of touch and bearing the aroma of flowers. And when the brahmanas engaging in ritualistic ceremonies ignited their fires, according to Vedic principles, the fires burned steadily, undisturbed by the breeze. Thus, when the birthless Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was about to appear, the saints and brahmanas who had always been disturbed by demons like Kamsa and his men felt peace within the core of their hearts, and kettle drums simultaneously vibrated from the upper planetary systems. The Kinnaras and Gandharvas began to sing auspicious songs. The Siddhas and Charanas offered auspicious prayers, and the Vidyadharis, along with the Apsaras, began to dance in jubilation. The demigods and great saintly persons showered flowers in a joyous mood, and clouds gathered in the sky and very mildly thundered, making sounds like those of the ocean's waves. Then, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who was situated in the core of everyone's heart, appeared from the heart of Devaki in the dense darkness of night, like the full moon rising on the eastern horizon, because Devaki was of the same category as Sri Krishna. Vasudeva then saw the newborn child, who had very wonderful lotus-like eyes, and who bore in his 4 hands the 4 weapons, Shankha, Chakra, Gada, and Padma. On his chest was the mark of Srivatsa, and on his neck the brilliant Kaustuba gem. Dressed in yellow, his body blackish like a dense cloud, his scattered hair fully grown, and his helmet and earrings sparkling uncommonly with the valuable gem Vaidurya. The child, decorated with a brilliant belt, armlets, bangles, and other ornaments, appeared very wonderful. When Vasudeva saw his extraordinary son, his eyes were struck with wonder. In transcendental jubilation, he mentally collected 10,000 cows and distributed them among the brahmanas as a transcendental festival. Thereafter, Vasudeva and Devaki offered their prayers to the personality of Godhead. So this is a little glimpse. I haven't read from the purports. Prabhupada, the presenter of Srimad Bhagavatam in English language, and indeed to the entire world, said that his Bhaktivedanta purports were his personal ecstasies. So if you really want to touch that mood of a pure devotee who sees Krishna face to face, person to person, you can read the Srimad Bhagavatam, get a little glimpse, a little taste of Srila Prabhupada's ecstasies. It says here that Vasudeva had to mentally offer the cows. Does anybody recall why?
They were in prison?
That's right. Vasudeva and Devaki were in the prison of Kamsa. And Vasudeva had no opportunity to offer any cows in charity to the brahmanas. So in his mind he offered 10,000 cows. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that mental offering was as good as the actual offering because of his devotion. Krishna is so kind that he counts as complete one's sincere desire to render service to him. It's such a wonderful thing. You can't, if you have an employer and you miss a day of work, well, oftentimes that's, I'm sorry, sir, your pay is docked. And if you say, well, I'll mentally do work. Your pay may be docked and you may be fired. Krishna is very liberal like that. Of course, if we have the ability, if we have the wherewithal, if we have the funds and, and so forth, and the material, which we want to make spiritual, if we have the material means, we should make nice offering for the personality of Godhead every day of our lives, and especially in a day like Krishna Janmashtami. So, this same Supreme Personality of Godhead, he appeared 5,000 years ago. What makes it significant for us is that, in terms of cosmic time, I mentioned before, Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita for the first time to the sun god, Vivasvan, 120 million, some odd, 400,000 years ago. Long time ago. By that standard, we, especially fortunate persons sitting here, are just a blink of an eye after the appearance of Lord Krishna. 5,000 years is nothing by that scale of time. It's nothing. When you think that Lord Krishna appears once in a day of Brahma, a day consisting of 1,000 yuga cycles, rotating. So we're talking about billions of years. Once in a day of Brahma, and you're a mere 5,000 solar years after Krishna. This is very good arrangement. Very good fortune. So take advantage of this good fortune. Don't count yourself as distant, because actually it was just yesterday. And then compound upon it the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Directly Krishna, Lord Chaitanya appears. He doesn't always appear in that particular manifestation after Krishna's appearance in Kali Yuga. He's directly Lord Krishna. And that happened a mere 537 something years ago. Now your fortune is increased manifold times, because not only did Krishna appear and say Sarva Dhamma Parityajya Mami Kam Sharanam Praja, but he appeared again to make sure that we understood how to do that. How is it practically possible to do that? Krishna said, you surrender to me. Give up all varieties of mental speculation and so forth. Just surrender to me. I'll protect you. Don't fear. But we, residents of Kali Yuga, what? How am I going to do that? I'm going to surrender. What do I got to give up? what do I have to do now? I have my responsibilities to my family. I have my responsibilities to my society. Now I got to do this too? No. Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya, he came and he explained how that can be done. Even from the position of being a businessman or an architect or a farmer or whatever. You can engage all of your senses in the Lord's service in a very practical way. And how does that begin? It begins with sadhu sangha. And it begins with hearing, shravanam, which is what we're doing. We're shravanam kirtanam, Vishnu smaranam. That's what this is. Vyasadeva compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam so that we could do the same. The literary incarnation of God was given to us by the literary incarnation of God so that we can actually hear and chant about God. Not about, some movie star or some Marvel comic book hero. Krishna isn't a comic book hero. He's the supreme person from whom the persons who thought of comic book heroes got indirectly their inspiration. He's the person from whom everybody else who's written a dime store novel or, the works of Shakespeare has, Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivisto matasmritir jnanam apohanam cha. Remembrance, knowledge, forgetfulness. That's all coming from this fountainhead. Prabhupada calls him the fountainhead of all incarnations. It's not that Krishna is sprung as the 10th or 11th incarnation of Vishnu. That's not it. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. We are celebrating the appearance of the fountainhead of all incarnations. Just like when he appears, we were just hearing, before Vasudeva and Devaki. How does he appear? He appears in his Vishnu form. Why? Because Vasudeva and Devaki are his dear devotees, but in order to reassure them that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he showed this feature of 4 arms. And then what does he do? He transforms into his original form. 2 hands, 2 feet, pinkish, cute little lotus feet. He's a little child. But he's showing his opulences for them so that they can understand. Does he show that Vishnu opulence to Nanda and Yashoda? Their relationship. As all, what is your relationship to Krishna? What is your relationship? That relationship of Nanda and Yashoda is a little different than Vasudeva and Devaki. A little different. Vasudeva and Devaki is a little more tinged with the awe and reverence. So that's their relationship. Nanda and Yashoda, Krishna's just our darling child. They're completely overwhelmed with Yogamaya for their dear, beloved Krishna. But we are coming from the position of being in complete and total ignorance, more or less. More or less. Just like, and if we're fortunate, when we're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, our dear uncles and fathers and mothers, they arrange for us to get some education so that we can chant Shikshastakam, which we heard earlier. So they can sing, so we can sing Krishna Pranamor, beautiful song, Narottam Das. That's good fortune. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, from the earliest childhood. But even if we come to the understanding that Krishna consciousness is the most important goal of our life, even if we come to that realization a little later in life, there's no loss, right? Nehabhakramanashvasti pratyavaya navidite svapam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahatobhaya. Svapam, even a tiny bit, svapam, even a little bit of endeavor, that's permanent benefit. And there are examples in the Shastra of kings who, at the very tail end of life, focused their mind on Krishna and were able to achieve all success. There are also examples in Srimad Bhagavatam, such as Ajamil, who had been a Brahmin in his youth, had fallen down and had become debauched beyond explanation in polite company. And still, Krishna's mercy was there, because he remembered his son, whose name was Narayan. So that's, you want a gauge of how merciful Krishna is. That's the gauge. Of course, as one practices Krishna consciousness, they come to understand we have to avoid offenses. We can't be Ajamils. I think it's just going to be okay, because at the end I'll chant Hare Krishna. It's not exactly works that way. Because it's an offense to the holy name. The holy name is a person. We're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Mother Shreya, that beautiful kirtan, the holy names. By such chanting, we are associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We may not be able to perceive that because we're covered over. But Krishna is so kind, once again, He's come before us in His deity form. He's come before us in the sound vibration of His holy name. Both are non-different from Him. We're covered over with, okay, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Or you're walking down the street, and you're on the other side of the street, and then there's some kirtan, and you look over there, and you hear them chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. What is this? Hare Krishna, Krishna. What is this nonsense? You're fortunate. You've heard, and even though you've spoken it in jest, Haridas Thakur says, that's your eternal benefit. That's how magnanimous Krishna is. But also, as we said before, Ye yata man prapadyante. As they surrender, reward them accordingly. So, the mission of the Krishna consciousness movement, the purpose of establishing this society, was for Srila Prabhupada a means to engage everybody in Krishna's service, knowing full well that this is the best way to benefit a suffering humanity. Right now, we're at the threshold of a major change in Kali Yuga. Can't you feel it? Every day, doom and gloom, headlines. Every day, leaders acting like crazy men. You know? Every single day, one thing after another. Everybody's in anxiety. Therefore, Kali Yuga is full of anxiety, this age of Kali. So, our position is very, very precarious. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada Krishna sent his personal emissary, Srila Prabhupada, so that we would have an opportunity to be saved from this maelstrom, this whirlwind of Kali Yuga, have a chance to chant the holy names and make our lives perfect, even in this brief life. Right? It's very brief. Prayana Parasha Sajat Kalavismin Engagement. Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya Yuparduta. Oh, learned one, in this age of Kali, men have but short lives. That's the first thing. Your lives are short. In such a yuga, you would live 100,000 years on average. 100,000 years. Where's our mathematician? How many thousand more times that's 1,000 more times than 100 years? So your life was 1,000 times longer than today. So you could practice mystic yoga, you could sit for 70,000 years like Valmiki, Rishi or something, but you can't do that in this age. Then Treta Yuga, 10,000 years. Dwapara Yuga, 1,000 years. Now dwindling. Practically who's living 100 years? One of the Koch brothers, one of these famous conservative
Billionaire. He just died. How old was he? He just passed.
What, 89?
No, not
91?
even. He was in his 70s.
79.
He was in his 79 years old. And that's, everyone, pretty long. It's nothing. It's nothing. Our time is short. And Krishna's appearance was just for the purpose of giving us this opportunity, and then appearing as Lord Chaitanya to take advantage of this short time. Again, all mercies there. Krishna's mercy is overflowing for the residents of Kali Yuga. And he appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The thing is, where are our pious credits? Krishna explains in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Yesham tvantakatam papam jananam punykarmanam te dvanva mohanimukta bhajanti mam dhridabrata. Right before that he explains that all living entities in this material world are born into the dualities, into delusion, envy. They're born into illusion and their hearts are full of envy. Then he says this, Yesham tvantakatam papam. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful activities are completely eradicated, they can engage in my devotional service with determination. So where are our pious activities? One time Srila Prabhupada said to one disciple was asking Prabhupada about this, and Prabhupada said, I have created your pious activities. This is the power of sadhu sangha. I have created your power. Point of clarification, I'm a grand disciple of Srila Prabhupada, not direct disciple. Chakri Prabhu is a direct disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He's my god uncle. He had stepped out of the room, but I was going to ask his permission to speak because he's a direct disciple of Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Chakri Prabhu ki. So our process, what creates your pious credits in this age, sometimes they can be created via agyata sukriti. Like that gentleman I mentioned, walking down the street, looking across and seeing a Harinam, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That's agyata sukriti. But it happens because the devotees took the time to be out there and so that he could hear the holy name. It happens because of the mercy of devotee, this agyata sukriti. But sometimes, when a person comes to their senses, then they can actually engage in real, full-on conscious devotional sukriti by helping devotees, by serving the deities, by, in so many different capacities. This is a worldwide movement, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Right now, we're building this enormous temple in West Bengal, in Sridham Mayapur, which is going to be a beacon of transcendental knowledge, a center of transcendental learning for the entire world. That's going on. That requires architect, it requires workers, it requires intelligent persons who study the Bhagavatam to try to understand it. Because it's the temple of the Vedic planetarium, you're going to have a planetarium, right? And that planetarium is going to show the situation of the planetary systems and the different living entities in these different strata within the material world. And then above and beyond that, the spiritual world. So how do you depict that? It's described in 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's very detailed. Right? So you have to have information. You have to have learned devotees and scholars and so forth studying this. And then, you can follow the progress of the Temple of the Vedic Planetarium online. You can see that there are sculptors involved and they're depicting the demigods with these 7, 8, 9 foot statues and so many. So it's a fabulous learning, teaching tool. So there are different ways that one could be engaged by their propensities in spreading Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada emphasized so much the importance of farms. Self-sufficiency. He told Rameshwar, one of his close lieutenants, that one day in the future, millions of people will be coming to the Hare Krishna farms because there will be massive unemployment. Massive unemployment. And then they will be coming. First by the thousands, then by the millions. I'm sure Rameshwar will. We have one farm, Srila Prabhupada. How are we going to do that? Anyway, the point is that Krishna is the shelter of all living entities. He's the shelter of all living entities. All of his acts are carried out in a natural sequence, without his extra endeavor. Bala, Kriya, Jana, everything is going on. And he's the chief living entity of all living entities, and he's supplying the various needs of all the living entities. And at some point or another, when the living entity becomes a little intelligent, then this is the personality who's supplying everything. Let me approach him. And then when he becomes a little more intelligent, he says, let me give back some of what I'm getting from him. And then when he becomes most intelligent, he says, I want nothing from Krishna except the opportunity to engage in his service. So there's an evolution of consciousness that is being made available by the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And we should all try to take advantage of that. And it all begins and ends through the chanting of Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Then that Icha Dvesha Samutena, Icha, desire, Dvesha, hatred or envy, those things will be curbed down and the desire will be purified. Right? Everybody's fearful. Like I mentioned before, Prayana Parsha Satya Kalavas Minike, Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya Yuputru. Everybody's anxious because, as Prabhupada quoted his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, saying, this world is a place of the cheaters and the cheated. So this is going. So everybody's afraid. Even when they approach a religious institution, they've seen so many bad examples, charlatans and people on the take. Send me your dollars and you'll get salvation. Right? Heard that before, haven't you? Anybody watch a little late night TV? Anyway. If you send $100 right now, your whole world's going to change. And then he gets in his jet and flies to another part of the country. We're not advocating for that. And we're saying that just because there's a counterfeit coin does not mean all coins are counterfeit. There is the real thing. Every endeavor is covered by some fault. That's this age especially. There's always some imperfection. But from imperfection, perfection can arise by sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha, sarva shastreko, lavamatra sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hoya. Even by a fraction of a moment's association with pure devotees, one can achieve all perfection. And our great fortune is that we have Srila Prabhupada's books, we have Srila Prabhupada's disciples, we have tapes, or now they're MP3 format. we have recordings of Srila Prabhupada speaking at length on the philosophy. We have recordings of Srila Prabhupada translating and presenting Krishna book. We have recordings of Srila Prabhupada reciting verses from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, whole chapters. We have recordings of Srila Prabhupada's morning walk conversations where he's smashing material science and atheism and impersonalist philosophy. We have recordings of Srila Prabhupada in ecstasy, as he was in Atlanta, when he was describing the mercy of Lord Nityananda, and you could hear it, he was crying. So, what is our lacking? The will to do it. Right? We have to develop that will, and that comes from associating with devotees and chanting the holy names and tasting prasadam. When I first came to the temple, the program that the devotees had developed in 1978 was that you're a new bhakta, you've got to eat up to here. Up to here. No, that's not enough. Take some more halava. More. Down here, sabji. Come on. Oh, one chapati? Seriously? Come on. You make it. Because he knew prasadam was purifying. And that even though we were a little thick-headed, Once we had enough prasadam, then we'd be able to hear and understand. Krishna consciousness is so nice. And Krishna is so, in a certain way, transcendentally subversive, you know? Because he's going to find some way or another. He's like the thief of the heart, you know? He's going to steal your heart one way or another. You're going to look at Krishna in his deity form one day and say, okay, that's it. You got me now. That's enough. I surrender. Surrender doesn't mean losing your intelligence or giving up, you know, something that's anything less than ephemeral. Surrender means taking shelter. It means getting under the protection of. There are 6 principles of the path of Sharanagati, surrender. Thinking of Krishna as my protector is one of them. Mare Krishna Rake Ke Rake Krishna Mare. Whoever Krishna wants to kill, who's going to protect him? Whoever Krishna wants to save, who can touch him? And then being so confident in the protection of the Lord that when this body starts to fail and the teeth start to get loose and so forth, oh, this is just Krishna coming to me in this way, giving me the opportunity to take more and more shelter from him. Lord Brahma says in the Srimad Bhagavatam that when someone's thinking that way, that, oh, these apparent reversals of the material nature, let me simply go on remembering Krishna and engaging my body, mind, and words in the service of the Lord, and accepting that these things are happening. This is just a token of what I probably should get from so many millions of births in this material world. Lord Brahma says that liberation is that person's rightful claim. Because Krishna is so kind. So let us meditate on these points as we continue remembering Krishna and hearing about him through the rest of this evening and into the wee hours of the night. And we can picture as the midnight, the bell is about to toll, that Vasudeva and Devaki are there in their prison room. And Devaki is glowing. She's luminous. And Vasudeva knows the child is about to come. And then Krishna appears from the mind of Devaki, from her heart. Krishna is appearing. And just like we read here, he's appearing in this wonderful, extraordinary form. Who's born with a helmet and long hair? 4 arms. Who makes an appearance like that? When Krishna's on stage, everybody notices. So, oh, wow, that's amazing. So 5,000 years later, people are still amazed by the activities of the personality of God. So we can continue with our transcendental amazement and hearing and chanting. And please, eat up to the neck. I still do. And ask a devotee or two, tell me something about Krishna. Or tell them something that you read or heard about Krishna. And share a little Krishna katha. That's what devotees do. Much chitavan gata pranam, bodhiyanta parasparam, katayantaschanam, niche yuktu pasate. They're always engaged in doing this. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.